The just-founded Nikola Corporation had its sights on the business of heavy-duty commercial battery electric vehicles. Beyond the vehicles, they also added fuel cell energy vehicles and energy solutions. Their dream was a tall one. However, after some years behind the scenes, Nikola Corporation took the public by storm on the 4th of June, 2020 with its first natural gas-fueled turbine-electric semi-truck. On the heels of this success, they delivered their first 2 battery-electric trucks in December 2021. The new concept car was the Nikola Tre, and it caught the attention of everyone in the car industry. Suddenly, there was this new kid on the block giving Elon Musk and Tesla a run for their money. As a result, Nikola's stocks went through the roof, showing the market's excitement and belief in their potential. At one point, having a market cap of $34 billion. At this point, it is safe to say that Nikola Corporation was in business and had all the favorable predictions from experts. However, beneath the facade lay something sinister. Something that will eventually blow up and threaten the existence of Nikola Motors. What was this sinister shadow? How did it affect the Nikola Corporation? This is a story of a company built on innovation, with a touch of intrigue, lies, and fraud. This is the story of the rise and fall of Nikola Corporation. Let's get right into it. The story of Nikola Corporation is centered around one figure, one who would supervise its astronomical rise and whose capacity for the dubious will lead to its near implosion: Trevor Milton. Now, before we go into the origin of Nikola, let's make a brief stop to trace the origin of Milton. Who was Trevor Milton before founding the Nikola Corporation? Born in Salt Lake City, Utah, Milton's life has essentially been characterized by several businesses. Some failed, some successful, before what would be characterized as his big break, the founding of the Nikola Corporation. After dropping out of college, Milton then pursued a career in sales and marketing, after which he started his first company, St. George Security, which was largely a success. He would eventually sell off the business at a mouth-watering price of $300,000. Not bad for a first company. Following his success in the sale of his first company, Milton immediately launched another business, an online classified ads website for used cars. But this second venture was not as successful as the first. In fact, after a series of failures, he shut down the website for good and moved on. But it was at this point that Milton started on a path that would eventually lead to the founding of Nikola. He launched a business that had to do with real cars this time. D-Hybrid Inc. D-Hybrid was essentially into the business of retrofitting commercial trucks with engines that run on natural gas. Unfortunately for Milton, this business and the business he founded after it both turned out to be monumental failures, and he had to abandon ship for good. This paved the way for Nikola to launch his biggest venture ever, the Nikola Corporation. Nikola started with a dream of producing hydrogen-powered glider trucks. Sounds familiar, right? Well, it seems Trevi finally got his acts together after the implosion of D-Hybrid. Meanwhile, things got to a rather ambitious start for Nikola, with an announcement that the company was set to build 5,000 Nikola One hydrogen-powered glider trucks in just 2 years. Nikola would further announce that the trucks would be built by a Tennessee-based Gilder company, Fitzgerald Glider Kits. And so, Nikola was in business. However, there is no evidence that this larger-than-life dream was ever achieved in 2016. Nikola would show up again with another big announcement in 2019, but this time, with the news that the company was moving. They had acquired 389 acres of land in Coolidge, Arizona for $23 million and would begin the construction of their factory. Soon after that, Nikola came with yet another announcement. If they shot for the sky with the 5,000 hydrogen-powered glider trucks, this time they were shooting for space. Nikola was set to fabricate 35 to 50,000 trucks per year. Yeah, you heard that right. 50,000! But what happened to the 5,000 glider trucks, lost in the sea of unfulfilled promises? Meanwhile, Nikola was trucking on fine. By March 2020, it announced that it brokered a merger with Vecto IQ Acquisition Corporation. This alliance shot them into being listed on the NASDAQ exchange. The resulting stock, NKLA, would now be traded publicly. The merger was officially sealed 3 months later, and on the 4th of June 2020, a day after the merger, the stock began trading. With just 1 week of trading, Nikola shares doubled. Investors were spooked by the potential of electric transport and were racing each other to get a piece of what could be considered the future of transportation. So even with nothing on ground, they were willing to bet on the possibilities of electric transportation. While NKLA flipped and performed wonders in the market, there was no truck produced yet, not even a prototype, but orders kept flowing in from customers. Meanwhile, Nikola continued its positive growth, and by August 2020, Nikola Corporation reached a valuation of $13 billion. At this point, they even got the attention of giant car makers, and on September 8, 2020, Nikola Corporation entered into another strategic partnership with GM, General Motors. GM stated that it would acquire an 11% stake in Nikola and also nominate one member to Nikola's board. And as a result of the partnership, GM would begin the production of Badger and supply fuel cells and batteries to Nikola globally. This was a sweet song to the ears of investors because Nikola's stock shot for the stratosphere. This news was greeted with so much enthusiasm in the market that Nikola's stock value shot up 50%. However, at this point, trouble was already brewing in Nikola land, and it all started with the launch of its first prototype, the Nikola One freight truck. While the launch went well and the freight truck was touted as a fully functioning, drivable vehicle, some things about the event didn't just look right. Those in attendance were allowed to get close and personal with the truck's control, but were blocked off by a chain. Milton's response to this was that he didn't want anyone driving off with the thing in the middle of the show. People should have been suspicious, but they wouldn't have to wait too long for the crap to hit the fan. September 10, 2020 was when Nikola's troubles started officially. A short seller firm, Hindenburg Research, dropped a bombshell report in which they accused Trevor Milton, the founder of the company, of being involved in a complex and deceptive fraud. The trouble escalated when both Financial Times and Research Inquirer confirmed the report. They presented evidence showing a Nikola One truck effortlessly gliding down a slope, using the good old force of gravity instead of its supposed onboard propulsion. This revelation hit hard, causing Nikola's stock to tumble by 10%, while GM's stock also took a 4% hit. Expectedly, Nikola was outraged by these accusations and threatened to take legal action against Hindenburg. Little did they know, their troubles were only just beginning as the claims made by Hindenburg caught the attention of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Meanwhile, on September 14th, reports surfaced that the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, had initiated an investigation into allegations of fraud against Nikola Corporation. And just a day later, the Department of Justice joined the party and started its own investigation. The Hindenburg report had started a domino effect, and Milton and Nikola were in for it. Just a week later, on September 21st, things took a drastic turn. Trevor Milton, the man at the center of it all, decided it was best to step down from his positions as executive chairman and founder of Nikola. The company's stock continued to plummet, drowning in a sea of allegations. But even at that, the unraveling had only just begun. First, partnerships started to crumble like a house of cards. In November 2020, BP, that's British Petroleum Company plc, backed away from a potential partnership. They were supposed to team up with Nikola to develop hydrogen refueling stations for their electric trucks. Sadly, that plan went up in smoke. Also, GM, a big player in the automotive industry, decided to distance itself from Nikola. They canceled their proposed deal to buy an equity stake in the company and scrapped the production of the Badger electric pickup truck. As if that wasn't enough, another partnership also went down the drain. Republic Services, a waste management company, terminated its joint venture with Nikola to develop zero-emissions garbage trucks. It seems like the chips were falling one after the other, leaving Nikola in quite a precarious situation. As for Milton, what happened to him? Things took a serious turn for him in the summer of 2021. A United States federal grand jury didn't hold back and returned an indictment against him. And guess what? The charges were no joke. 3 counts of securities fraud and wire fraud. Yikes! But that's not all. The SEC had their eyes on him too. they piled on civil securities fraud charges against Trevor. Interestingly, Trevor Milton chose not to run away from his charges. He instead decided to face the music and surrendered to the authorities. Trevor firmly pleaded not guilty to all the charges thrown his way. And guess what? He managed to secure his freedom, but it didn't come cheap. The bail was set at a whopping $100 million. In June 2022, just when you thought things might simmer down, another bombshell dropped. An additional wire fraud charge was added to Trevor's list of troubles. The legal roller coaster just kept on going. Fast forward to October 2022, and it was the big moment everyone was waiting for. After a day of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Trevor Milton was found guilty on 1 count of securities fraud and not 1, but 2 counts of wire fraud. Now, the chapter isn't quite complete yet. The sentencing has been delayed, and we'll have to wait until September 22, 2023, to find out the consequences awaiting Mr. Milton. Meanwhile, after Trevor Milton stepped down from the scene, Mark Russell took the wheel as the CEO, and Nikola, well, it had its share of ups and downs. However, in February 2021, there was a glimmer of hope as Nikola rallied a bit. They made a public announcement that they were scrapping their power sports unit and all the plans that came with it. Sometimes, you've got to cut loose to move forward, right? But hey, they weren't giving up that easily. Nikola boldly stated their intentions to produce between 50 and 100 Nikola Tree vehicles by the 4th quarter of the year. Then, in June of the same year, Nikola Corporation put its money where its mouth was. They invested a cool $50 million in a new hydrogen factory. The goal? To produce fuel for their semi-truck fuel stations. Now these new investments were financed by Wabash Valley Resources. In July, Nikola had some big plans for expansion. They announced the addition of 5 new Class 8 truck dealers in Arizona, Texas, Colorado, California, New Mexico, Delaware, Florida, Maryland, and Virginia. After Mark Russell retired as CEO on January 1st, 2023, Michael Loscheller took over. Loscheller was instrumental in battery electric vehicles production and in achieving development milestones for the Tre fuel cell electric vehicles. In the end, Nikola has moved on from its founder and is undergoing reforms. And although it had to recall one of its vehicles, it is safe to say they are still in business and are headed in a better direction than they were initially headed with their founder. That's all for this video. Drop your thoughts and comments in the comment section below, and please subscribe to the channel while you are at it. Thank you for watching and see you at the next one.